could I add something else to it that's fascinating to think about? Is that we live in a society today that has all these questions. Slavery is a big one, right? And I would say, okay, why did slavery, this is the crazy thing, 5,000 years of human history that we know of, ubiquitous, you guys know that fancy word, like everywhere you went there was slavery, everywhere. Africans enslaved Africans, sold them to white slave traders, blah, 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 on you go. It's a mess, it's terrible. It's been going on for 5,000 years. Why in say 150 or 200 year period that all of a sudden, for the most part, I mean there's places in the world that still is, but we would all say it's wrong. Why ubiquitously did we say it needs to stop? See, that's the big question for me. I totally agree with injustices and stuff that have happened, but why did it come to a stop? It came to a stop because there was a whole bunch of people who said they had an experience with the living God like I'm talking about, and he revealed to them that that was wrong because mankind was created in the image of God. And those people kept voicing it and kept voicing it and kept voicing it to the point that it changed an entire culture, an entire worldview of a culture, and it started in the UK and it came to the United States. And people said, this is wrong, it needs to stop. That came from the Christian worldview. It didn't come from a box of rocks, it didn't come from a secular worldview, it came from a Christian worldview of people who had said they had an experience with the living God, and that was the momentum that changed the whole thing. Now, the point I'm saying with that is that I have a list, I could pop it up on my phone, sometimes I do, of at least 25 major world issues, including public education, public reading, everybody needs to learn how to communicate. Those things came from the Christian worldview. Wherever Christians went and operated properly, okay, rightly, because any one of us could operate wrongly. Wherever they operated properly, these are the kind of things that are set in motion. And again, to your question, Dom, it goes all the way back to somebody who said, I actually had an encounter with the living God and he changed how I think. And those groups of people went out and said, let's change things. It's a worthy discussion.
Another thing too about that is like the Bible not only provided the solution, we're all created in the image of God, but it also provides the reason why it was ubiquitous. Say the word.
Ubiquitous.
I can't pronounce that
Ubiquitous.
word. There we go. Why
it was
that?
It was everywhere.
Everywhere in the first place. Like the question, okay, why was slavery everywhere in the first place? That's a good question.
Right. You always like to go there. Go there. Right. Think about it. Why was for 5,000 years was it like normal?
The fall. Like it's a simple answer.
What do you mean?
Meaning, God created mankind good and without sin, and he gave them one command: don't eat of this tree, the knowledge of good and evil, and the day you eat of it, you shall surely die. And Satan comes in, and he tempts, and they eat of the tree, and humanity is cursed from there on out. Even the ground's cursed. And so, right after that, you got these two sons of Adam and Eve, Cain and Abel, and you got murder right off the bat.
Right out of the gate. I hate you. I'm jealous of you.
Boom.
Jealousy actually comes from covetousness and jealousy.
Yeah, like we're here.
I covet. I don't like your posture and your position. You got a better standing than I do. You have a better sacrifice than I have. I don't like that.
Yep. Boom. He didn't enslave him. He murdered him. Like, boom.
So the point is that people will talk about the Bible. God's revelation is coming in the midst of a context.
Yeah. A context of a fall.
Slavery wasn't like God didn't create slavery. That was mankind's doing out of his sin.
Yes.
And God said, no, it's wrong.
Yep.
And so he came in and he began to change that. So even in the Jewish world where there was different types of slavery, we could have that discussion, but there actually were different types. That was part of the welfare system. It's like if you were in trouble with your family and you couldn't pay the bills, you would submit yourself to somebody else and actually become a slave, if you will. That you would use the term a servant or a slave of a master who now owned you and your family.
But he would take care of you.
But he would take care of you. In a lot of cases, it was a wonderful arrangement. Now, I'm not making light of
and if he didn't, you'd probably die.
I'm not making light of what happened here. I'm just saying before you start jumping in and taking any kind of verse and saying, well, this is what's going on, you have to think of that particular context. But at the end of the day, by the time you get to the New Testament, God's people, covenant people in the world, you even see in the New Testament, where there was slavery in Rome, 80 or 90% of the people were all in slavery. It was slavery relationships across the board. You even see Christians who are now pastors and leaders in churches who are slaves.
Yeah.
Like they're not a second-class citizen, not at all. And God says, no, you're all created in the image of God. You're all created equal. So again, I live in a society today that's walking around talking about being equal. I'm like, where do you get that? That isn't in human history. Where does it come from?
Yeah.
Voila. Thank you very much. Borrowing from, you're borrowing capital. You're borrowing from my worldview.